I'm Lance Lysowski, the Sabers beat writer for the Buffalo News here at O2 Arena in Prague, where the Sabres just held their final practice before they opened the season Friday night against the New Jersey Devils. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, of course, slated to get the first game in goal for Buffalo. No lineup changes. There's nothing new to report on that end. We've known this lineup for a few weeks now. We know the D pairings, the power plays have stayed the same. And although that gives you time to wonder how things could look different, the changes that may happen in the future, this has given Lindy Ruff and his coaching staff a long runway to really get a good sense of what this group can look like and what they can accomplish once the games start to count. Now, obviously, the attention not only here in Prague, but back home in the U.S. from the NHL perspective is going to be on the stars. There's going to be a lot of talk about Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, the franchise pillars of the Sabres, and for good reason. But it is going to be fascinating to see how the new guys fit into this lineup. Now, the one line in particular that I'm fascinated to see in game action is Ryan McLeod, Jason Zucker, and Jordan Greenway. We've heard all about the fourth line. We know what they're going to bring, speed, physicality, but it has been interesting to see how the McLeod line, the usage in the preseason, and this excludes the game in Munich, has been more offensive zone starts than you would have thought. You would think, okay, McLeod, very good penalty killer. Jordan Greenway, very good penalty killer, that this might be a shutdown line for Lindy Ruff, but that may not be the case after all. I just think that they're a group that he really trusts defensively. Now, you go back to a game in Munich, some of the back checks that Greenway made, and that was the one player. I know a lot of fans were wondering how he would fit with Ruff, because you heard about pace, speed. The fourth line's already taken. How's he going to look on that third with two very fast guys? But Lindy Ruff is a big Jordan Greenway fan. Greenway has earned his trust very quickly with those details that weren't really noticed or may have gone unnoticed, in games by fans, or maybe weren't talked about as often by Don Granato when it comes to the defensive side of the game. But Lindy Ruff was saying just how much he likes just how good that trio is defensively and how he can trust them in every situation. But he trusts the offense is going to come between McLeod, Zucker, and Greenway, and he cited that first shift last Friday in Munich where Greenway gets to the net in their first shift of the game, draws a penalty, creates a great scoring chance. And there's going to be some runway here for these lines. I don't expect Lindy Ruff to make any abrupt changes after game one, and why should he? I know that there is the pressure, particularly here, to get Yuri Kulik in the lineup. There's going to be talk about Peyton Krebs given the camp that he had, but this is the lineup. And guys are just going to have to be patient. And that includes Dennis Gilbert, Jacob Bryson, and for many reasons, the impatience creeps in. You start to think about who fits where. This guy should be in the lineup. This doesn't make as much sense, but we really don't have a clue until they play a game. And this is going to be a very good opponent. Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jacob Markstrom, the goalie that New Jersey acquired from the Calgary Flames this summer, is going to be in goal on Friday night. Jake Allen on Saturday. And although they're without defenseman Brett Pesce here, and Luke Hughes is also out, they still have a very good group on the back end, that top four. It's just that third D pair with Buffalo being the home team on Friday is going to be a very fascinating matchup to watch. Who does Lindy Ruff put out there against Seamus Casey and Simone Nemec to really try to exploit that? It's probably going to be the top line. Those two kids are going to have to try to stop 6'6" Tage Thompson and 6'4" Alex Tuck barreling down on them on the forecheck and see how they handle it. The power play, of course, is going to be a topic of discussion given the Sabres struggles last season. We'll see. I tweeted the alignments, where guys line up, right when the Sabres get set. And naturally, and I understand, fans were concerned about a few players in certain spots. They thought another guy should go here. I understand, trying to poke holes or really looking for reasons to maybe be skeptical because, hey, it's been 13 years. I get it. And especially with how bad the power play was last year. There's been a lot of movement, though, and that's something that we're having to keep an eye on and see how Lindy Ruff and Seth Appert try to maybe surprise penalty kills with how they're deploying their personnel. And in case, you weren't paying attention this summer, and I wouldn't blame you at all, just given how busy everybody's lives are at that time of year and how many changes happen in this league. But Sheldon Keefe, formerly of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is now the head coach of the New Jersey Devils. He knows the Sabres well. The Sabres know his system well. We'll see how different that is. The Maple Leafs like to play a very wide-open game. We'll see if that changes with New Jersey. It would play to their skill, but especially with them being a little thin on the back end at the start of the season, at least for this first series. Pesce might be back as early as next week. Maybe he tightens it up. Maybe we see some different things. I watched their practice this morning, and a big emphasis was getting out of their own zone. A lot of breakout work, a lot of puck battles, very similar to what we've seen from the Sabres under Lindy Ruff the past few weeks. It's been a very interesting dynamic. Just to watch both teams, both teams know each other pretty well, built very similarly. Even Ruff said as much. And now we see how it all plays out, right? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen got paid this summer. How does he approach year two, going into the season as a starter? I spoke to him this morning, and his message was, nothing changes for me. I don't care when my first start is. You still have to earn it. Just because I'm number one at the depth chart now doesn't mean I'm going to be number one in 3 weeks. I have to work, and I have to help us win games to make sure that I stay in this spot. Just because the contract happened doesn't mean that I can get comfortable at all. And that has to be a message that makes Kevin Adams, Lindy Ruff, and everybody else involved feel good. No surprise to them, obviously, with the way Luukkonen has attacked, particularly last season, and made sure that he's stronger and better prepared to avoid injuries. Devin Levi looks like he was the second goalie out today. James Reimer was on late. Those are your two goalies for now. I think there's a lot of consternation and debate back home about what are the Sabres going to do with that third goalie. Is James Reimer going to stick around because he requires waivers? It's not even worth thinking about at this point, right? I mean, there's still 2 games to be played before the Sabres have to make that decision. Their preference, obviously, is to not carry 3 goalies, especially when you're going to be carrying AD. They can't afford to lose Jacob Bryson on waivers right now with Ryan Johnson hurt in Rochester. Cale Clegg, it just depends on their level of trust there. And we don't know that yet with Lindy Ruff as coach. It does speak volumes, in my opinion, that Cale Clegg was the defenseman chosen to come on this trip. And that was before Ryan Johnson got injured. They wanted somebody with more experience, hate to use the term reliable, but Cale Clegg's older. He's been in the league longer, and he's pretty good on the breakout. And that is, again, a very, very big point of emphasis is playing faster, getting out of your zone faster, getting to offense faster. The Sabres spent too much time in their own zone last year, which was very odd to see after their success the year prior. So some subtle changes there. D-zone, of course, is going to be different. And a lot of it's just going to be the coach drilling them on details, back-checking, being in position, not getting lost in your own zone. So, the 2 centers that are really going to have to have to make sure that they're on point there is Tage Thompson and Dylan Cousins. Both guys who have had very strong camps and, according to Ruff, have been on point. This whole team has. So, but again, they've played a couple of NHL preseason lineups, the Red Bull München and, Red Bull in Munich last Friday. The real test doesn't start until Friday. Tomorrow, that is. Here in Prague. I'm Lance Lysowski, reporting from Prague's O2 Arena. The Buffalo News is here on site. We'll have coverage, of course, from the games Friday and Saturday, as well as getting everybody ready for the home opener next week. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.